On paper, Wood Elves into Chaos Dwarfs seems like one of the worst matchups in the game, but I actually think Wood Elves do have some tools here. Unfortunately, one of their tools is not as good as he should be. Orion actually hasn't been fully restored to his power level of Mortal Empires into Immortal Empires. He's actually a little bit lower on his reload skill in Immortal Empires, and I don't know if his firewall moving has actually been fixed, so it's functional. I have to look for that in this replay as Orion faces off against Koaladuck's Chaos Dwarfs here. This unit of Wild Hunters is going to take a bunch of Wolf Boy fire here with a couple of regular Wolf Raiders as well. He's got a front line of Cutthroats, Hobgoblins, a Magma Cannon, and 3 Bull Centaurs with shields. Very smart against the Wood Elves to have those shields, obviously. And then he's got a Sorcerer Prophet of Fire on a Llamasu for that magic damage, and for the bound spells and everything else, removal of magic damage, of course. Not that he has many units with physical resistance, Burning Head, and Fireball. As for the Wood Elves, did not bring a caster, which is definitely a mistake, but they do have a Forest Dragon, some Eternal Guards here, and some Glade Guards as well. 5 Glade Guards, including 1 Hagbane tip for the poison, just 1 tip. Let's see here. And then the 3 Wild Riders, which, although Wild Riders did get a really nice mass buff in 3.0 alongside the Chaos Dwarfs, which sort of set the standard for Shock Cavalry of that class going forward. A lot of other Shock Cavalry have now been brought to the same mass. They're a little bit behind the curve when it comes to the speed creep of Cavalry. They should be probably faster than most Heavy Cavalry, and I think some Heavy Cavalry is actually encroaching on their speed now. Definitely could be better, but they're going to do a nice little hit and run charge in the front, try and do some damage to those Cutthroats, but the Bull Centaurs are on station. Are going to take a lot of very expensive damage in the process, especially to those low-tier bows. So, yeah, Wild Riders probably should get cost decrease and a slight speed increase, both. I think they'd be really solid. Right now, they're not the worst cavalry in the game, but they're not exactly cost-effective in most situations, and here they are going to get eaten up pretty quickly, although most light cavalry in this situation would get eaten up pretty quickly. The Wood Elf player overextending a little bit here, Koaladuck punishing him well for it, but we do start to get the sort of sniffings, if you will. I don't know, gosh, that's definitely not the right word. I feel so dirty saying that. Please never say that yourself, but anyway, we start to smell the smell, if you will, of a little bit of a overextension of the Chaos Dwarfs themselves. Bull Centaurs get caught out against this dragon over here. They're not the anti-large variants. They're not going to be doing that much damage. Horn of the Wild Hunt also gets active here. Not that there's a lot of units with extra charge bonus, but yeah, would have been nice to have that maybe on that initial hit and run charge with the Wild Riders, and then, of course, extra speed to pull away. But anyway, the Dragon is going to be definitely an interesting pick here because the Chaos Dwarfs, I think, probably won't necessarily prepare for it, even with all the missiles they do have here. They get eaten up pretty quickly, and as soon as this dense sort of line of Blade Guards comes forward, the Cutthroats get eliminated in a big hurry. So it just comes down to the artillery, the cavalry, monsters of the Chaos Dwarfs. Granted, their monsters and cavalry are quite scary, but this Bull Centaur here getting collapsed by multiple Wild Riders, this is a very ideal situation. They're going to get peppered with arrows as well. Wood Elves catching out an overextension here, and honestly, if they had even just played back their Wild Riders and played with them a little bit more conservatively from the start, instead of taking all that damage early, a trap like this, it'd have a lot more resources available, especially as Koaladuck now closes in with the second 2, which don't really have a great opposition to them. He does hit him with that breath attack there, which is going to cause the noxious gas, decrease their melee attack, but magic in return there, a little fireball from the Llamasu Sorcerer, and yeah, the Bull Centaur is going to get in with a massive charge here. Orion himself is on station. Looks like he missed the attack order, but of course with his anti-large can get in there and start to chop them down pretty well, but he's mostly just been throwing his javelins, it looks like, trying to utilize that missile damage. How much has he actually got done? Not too much. Don't know what target he's been focusing, to be honest. Haven't been paying super close attention, but despite what the balance of power may have you think, the Dragon and Orion are definitely a force to be reckoned with here, as the Chaos Dwarf, again, their build doesn't really have the best direct counters for them. A little bit of, looks like the Eternal Guard actually did get in contact with the cannon. Okay, so as long as they're able to kind of keep that cannon from firing too much. It's very useful kind of backline attack by those spears there. Meanwhile, Orion's just trying to do his best to protect what he can of the archers, but that attack, again, definitely felt the loss of the Wild Riders early in that specific attack right there, as the Bull Centaurs are able to wipe most of the archers. Orion does eventually get in and starts throwing point blank here. Oof, just slays one right there. Breath attack also into the Wolf Riders. They have very low HP, so it's not too hard to rout them off as well. And yeah, the Lamasu's got to be careful here. He doesn't get caught either on the ground or in the air by the Forest Dragon plus Orion here, especially both together. Horn of the Wild Hunt active, and the Dragon is actually going to get its charge bonus here, it looks like, at least for an attack or two. Takes a big old chunk out of the Sorcerer there. So again, despite what the balance of power may have you think, things could fall apart pretty quickly, as Orion is a really tanky character to kill in the late game. If the leadership goes down here, it looks like the Sorcerer Prophet was able to escape, but this is also where the Wood Elves' lack of caster is really coming back to bite them. They had some healing to sustain this dragon through this late game fight. It would become really tough for the Chaos Dwarfs to actually finish it off, right? Even as it is right now, it's going to take a kind of all-hands effort from multiple units to try and win it. I mean, we'll see. I don't think, maybe I just eat my words here in this one Bull Centaur and just to win it. But they are going to get support from the Sorcerer Prophet here, support from the Bull Centaurs, and from these other Hobgoblins. So definitely an all-hands effort. But, of course, Orion's still here close as well. He's going to jump in there and, oh, just slay one of those Bull Centaurs, man. Orion's such a Chad. I mean, I guess the fire on the move thing here we didn't really get to study much because he was mostly just sitting and shooting his ammo most of that time. He did manage to use all of it, which is nice. Didn't get probably crazy amount of value, but actually I take that back. 100 kills, 1594, fighting in melee and using that javelin attack. And these Bull Centaurs are getting quite low, easily terrified, but unfortunately the dragon has taken some significant damage from these multiple units kind of ganging up on it here. And the rest of the Chaos Dwarfs are able to finish off what's left of the Eternal Guard, making that backline attack, and bail out the Magma Cannon with enough HP that it stays on the field, it's able to continue firing, clean up the rest of those multi-model units. So, yeah, doesn't look like it's going to be quite enough. We'll see. I mean, maybe, just maybe, Orion can pull out some crazy late-game grind. I've definitely seen it before. It's looking fairly unlikely at this point. That said, I do like a lot of elements of this build. I think if you just were to fine-tune it a little bit here, or even if he had played with it, you know, better, again, just keep those Wild Riders back and don't overextend with them in the early part of the game so they can help counteract Bull Centaurs and, you know, the Bull Centaurs and the Wild Riders and the Archers together against that Bull Centaur attack, especially with the Dragons kind of side charging in. Probably would have been able to beat back the Bull Centaurs. And then from there, you can kind of roll things up. So even without the caster, I think he had a good chance to win with the build he brought. But I really like elements of this. I mean, the dragon is a nice kind of surprise piece. The Chaos Dwarfs might have just a hard counter to it if you bring it. So it is a risky pick, I'll admit. But oftentimes, I feel like Chaos Dwarfs are going to take more of a rush focus here, try and deal with the Wood Elf missiles. Seems like a bigger threat on paper. So I actually really like especially Dragon plus Orion. It's a lot of single entity stopping power, which again is not something that you might expect in this matchup. And you can fight a lot of the big, scary mobile threats of Chaos Dwarfs that might try and threaten your missile units. So build makes a lot of sense from its construction. We're going to fast forward now and watch as Orion makes his true last stand here. Gets fireballed in the face, and we'll keep his health bar up. He is going to take some pretty significant damage here, obviously, but it's surprising how long he's going to sustain that fight. And again, it ends up being a lot closer than I initially expected when I saw kind of the first part of this replay. I really think that just even preserving those Wild Riders a little bit, using them a little bit better, might have ended up winning the game in the long run. But regardless, I would probably say you could refine this build even. Wild Riders are not the most cost-effective, so obviously you need a caster, so cut one, get a caster, and with the leftover funds, cut the other one, and maybe just take some Glade Riders to give you more volume, a little bit more width. They're also not going to win against the Bull Centaurs and get killed even more horribly, but it's more just about having the mass block and delay and kind of something to help support these fights, right? And then maybe using Orion a little bit more actively to kind of countercharge the Bull Centaurs when they come in, go after those archers, especially in tandem with some cavalry, can be quite powerful. But I like this Orion plus Dragon. I might actually steal this, especially, 5 archers is pretty serious. Not all of them are going to pay for themselves, but enough of them, you have enough of them, I should say, that you create like a pretty, concentrated critical mass, right? Some of them are bound to pay for themselves. Eternal Guards also. I mean, Dryads are a non-starter for the most part in this matchup due to all the fire damage, so makes a lot of sense to go with an elf-focused build. So I like a lot of elements here. Definitely just bring some Lore of Life to heal that dragon, heal that expensive cavalry. Could even possibly upgrade the Wild Hunters to Stag Knights or even the ROR Stag Knights. It's not like Chaos Dwarfs have a ton of fire damage. Here, especially in this build, I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but Qualiduck would have been quite vulnerable to them. He doesn't have any fire damage that would be efficient for shooting them, I don't think. Let's just double check the Magma Cannon after I show off these values. Those, even after the nerfs, Bull Centaurs are still pretty good. I mean, they're definitely more in line with how they should perform. Counterable, but still quite strong. But anyway, yeah, Chaos Dwarfs surprisingly don't have the most magic damage in the world. They definitely have a few sources, and if you prepare for it, kind of expect it, then it can be a risky pick. So maybe the regular Stag Knights are better, but honestly, that Frostbite and that pure AP damage is just so good. And yeah, so if we think about Chaos Dwarfs here in terms of magic damage, I mean, Kadai are interesting. I don't know that they're going to be very common in this matchup because of their vulnerability missiles in general. And then not a lot of other things have innate fire damage in and of themselves. Like the Lamasu Lord, it will just die if he charges in. He'll get frostbitten and stuck on the ground, and then Orion and the Dragon can come kill him. So that's going to be a no-go, right? Or even the regular Lamasu, right? The best thing would be magic damage, but like there, you only had Fireball and Burning Head, neither of which are going to be good against the Stag Knights. So you could try and prepare for that by saying, okay, maybe you take Flaming Sword of Ruin, just in case. Have that magic damage to deal with the Lost Sylvan Knights, but I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Actually, this build, even though it did end up losing, still kind of gives me hope in this matchup. Definitely an interesting one. So big thanks to Qualiduck for sending that one in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.